You are lying in your bed, staring at the corner of your dark bedroom. It is 3 o'clock in the morning. The house is perfectly still, and you are trying to fall asleep. But you cannot because your eyes are locked onto a shadowy shape draped over the chair in the corner of your room. Your heart rate begins to climb. Your breathing becomes shallow, and you can feel the blood pumping loudly in your ears. You know rationally that it is just a pile of laundry you forgot to put away. Yet in the dim glow of the street lamp outside your window, that pile of laundry has a hunched back, long limbs, and a face that is staring directly at you. You blink, hoping the image will dissolve back into simple fabric, but the figure only seems to solidify in the gloom. You are a modern, educated human being living in a secure home with locked doors. Why is your highly evolved, logical mind suddenly convinced that a pile of cotton shirts is a predator waiting for you to close your eyes? The common explanation is that you simply have an overactive imagination, or that you watched too many horror films as a child. But the real answer is far stranger and much darker than you think. Your brain is not malfunctioning when it turns laundry into a monster. It is performing exactly as it was designed to by millions of years of brutal evolutionary selection. You do not see a monster because you are weak or superstitious. You see a monster because your ancestors survived by being deeply, pathologically paranoid. In the theater of natural selection, the optimistic humans who saw a bush and assumed it was just a bush did not live long enough to pass on their genes. You are the direct descendants of the cowards, the anxious, and the hypervigilant who looked at every rustling leaf and assumed it was a tiger. To understand why your bedroom corner still terrifies you, you have to travel back to a world where the dark was not an inconvenience, but a highly active death zone. What if the monsters we see today are just the ghosts of very real threats that hunted your family for thousands of generations? In the early 1990s, an anthropologist named Stuart Guthrie proposed a theory that would change how we understand human superstition. He argued that your brain possesses an evolutionary survival mechanism called the Hyperactive Agency Detection Device, or HADD. This is a cognitive system hardwired into your neural circuitry that is permanently set to hypersensitive. Its sole purpose is to detect the presence of living, conscious agents in your immediate environment. An agent is anything that can act on its own accord, like a predator, an enemy, or a mate. When you hear a floorboard creak in an empty house, HADD instantly triggers. It bypasses your slow, logical prefrontal cortex and directly floods your amygdala with adrenaline. Why would your brain develop a system that constantly lies to you? The answer lies in a mathematical calculation of life and death. Evolutionary psychologists Marty Haselton and David Buss formalized this concept through what they called error management theory. Imagine you were an early human sleeping near the mouth of a cave in the African savanna. It is pitch black. You hear a sudden, sharp rustle in the grass nearby. You have two choices. You can make a type 1 error, which is a false positive. You assume the rustle is a hiding predator. You jump up, scream, wake your tribe, and climb a tree. It turns out to be a light breeze. The cost of this mistake is incredibly low. You lost a few minutes of sleep and look slightly foolish. Now imagine you make a type 2 error, which is a false negative. You assume the rustle is just the wind, so you ignore it and stay asleep. It turns out to be a hungry leopard. What is the mathematical price of being too relaxed? Over millions of years, nature ruthlessly weeded out the relaxed. The individuals who possessed a highly sensitive, paranoid HADD survived to reproduce, while the calm, rational ones became dinner. You are the product of this relentless genetic filtering. Your brain would rather you be terrified of 100 harmless coats than be eaten by a single hidden predator. It's a biological insurance policy where the premium is paid in your anxiety.
But why does this manifestation take such highly specific, terrifying shapes? Why do you see a distorted face with staring eyes rather than just a vague blob? Your brain has an entire region dedicated specifically to recognizing faces, known as the fusiform face area. This neural region is incredibly powerful and constantly active. It is so powerful that it frequently misfires, a psychological phenomenon known as pareidolia. You see a face in the front grille of a car, in the electrical outlets on your wall, and in the craters of the moon. In the daytime, your brain has plenty of high-quality visual data to correct these false detections. Sunlight reveals the flat texture of the outlet or the smooth plastic of the car. But in the dark, your brain is starved of visual data. Your eyes are desperately scanning a low-contrast, shadow-filled environment. When the incoming data stream is weak, your brain does not just show you static, it aggressively fills in the blanks. It uses its ancestral database of threats to paint a picture. It projects a face onto the shadow because a hidden face is the most dangerous thing in the universe. Is it possible that your modern bedroom is actually a simulation of a prehistoric battlefield? This evolutionary paranoia is not just a quirky relic of our ancient past, it's a mechanism that modern society actively exploits. The horror movies that keep you awake at night don't actually invent new fears. Instead, directors like Alfred Hitchcock or modern horror creators simply reverse engineer your hyperactive agency detection device. They use low lighting, sudden off-screen noises, and ambiguous shapes specifically to trigger your HADD, bypass your logic, and throw your nervous system back into the Pleistocene epoch. You pay money to enter a dark theater to experience the exact same chemical panic that your ancestors felt when they heard a rustling in the tall grass. But there's a deeper, more profound twist to this ancient survival mechanism. Today, we live in the safest, most illuminated era in human history. We have banished the leopards, cleared the dark forests, and put locks on our sturdy doors. Yet our ancestral brains are still running the exact same hypervigilant software. When there are no real predators left in the shadows, your HADD does not simply shut down, it looks for new targets. This is why we transplant our ancient fear of the dark onto the modern world. We look at complex, chaotic, and completely random global events like economic shifts, political movements, or viral trends, and our brains desperately try to find an agent behind them. We create elaborate conspiracy theories and invent invisible cabals pulling the strings. It is far more comforting for your ancient brain to believe that a malicious group of bad actors is running the world than to accept that the world is completely chaotic, random, and unguided. We would still rather see a monster in the dark than face the terrifying possibility that we are completely alone in an empty room. The next time you lie awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, staring at that terrifying shape in the corner of your bedroom, take a deep breath. Don't be angry at your racing heart, and don't feel foolish for your fear. Your brain is simply doing its job, shielding you from threats that disappeared 10,000 years ago. Reach out, turn on your bedside lamp, and watch the monster dissolved back into a simple pile of laundry. You are lying in your bed, staring at the corner of your dark bedroom.